When body language savvy world leaders get together, they know there's one surefire moment to demonstrate dominance: the handshake photo op.
If you're looking at the left of the picture, they always want to be standing on the left of the picture. Let me demonstrate. If I'm shaking hands here, what's going to happen? I'm at the bottom of the handshake. My palm is facing up. That's a very vulnerable position. If I'm shaking hands here, and I've got my arm around the person, I'm shaking hands, who's got the upper hand? I've got the upper hand. If someone's coming in to shake your hand like this, here's the nice solid handshake. It should be straight and firm. If it's not...
Janine Driver teaches body language evening classes.
It's kind of hard to dominate. You're a powerful force.
She believes the visual impact of important handshakes was first appreciated in 1970, when Elvis Presley famously paid a visit to President Nixon at the White House.
We see a picture of Nixon, and he's shaking hands with Elvis Presley. Nixon's got the upper hand. That's where the expression comes from. I've got the upper hand here. So now that people know about this in politics, you see them jockeying for position when it comes time to take the picture.
At this summit in 2006, hosted by Vladimir Putin, the Russian leader was on full handshake alert.
He strategically placed himself in a position where when they're coming forward, he's going to get the dominant position. They're coming out of cars this way, they're coming up to him, the cameras are here. Every single picture, who gets the upper hand? Putin.
Then, up strides Tony Blair.
We see that Tony Blair is going to actually grab onto Vladimir Putin's hands, this classic thing of grabbing somebody by the elbow to show who is actually the leader.
Score 1 for Blair. Next, it's President Bush's turn.
George Bush, on the other hand, then comes in and realizes he's on the wrong side of the photo.
Morning.
So when he reaches in to grab, he immediately crowds Putin. So instead of just grabbing and letting Putin grab his arm, George Bush puts his shoulder against Putin so that Putin's left arm is in no way in a position to grab hold of Bush's right arm. Then as soon as Bush turns out, he immediately goes for a little tap, a steer on Putin's back to actually give him a push. And Putin, making sure not to be outdone, puts his right arm out and gives Bush a little tap as well.
We'll call that a draw. At this Camp David summit, President Bush is the host to visiting Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin knows the world is watching him on American soil, and he also knows that his people are watching, so he must show strength.
Here, though, both leaders are making a strong body language statement.
Now here we are, two powerful world leaders in a sort of striding contest. Because of course, the faster you stride, the more strong, powerful and fit you are.
But it's not just the speed of walking that sends out messages.
Vladimir Putin and George Bush, both of whom are fantastically powerful men, have two completely different kinds of power, and it evidences itself through body language.
Thank you all for coming.
Vladimir Putin has what I would call a very animal power, a strongman power, and he walks by having his shoulders, they're actually bouncing back and forth. And he walks, he also makes gestures, he's very active. I would almost call it a kind of sexy power. George Bush, on the other hand, has a more traditional and I would say American power. There's very little movement above the shoulders. He's trying to look like he's controlled. There's no extra wasted energy.
Thank you all for coming.
Perceiving the body language message of these two powerful presidents is straightforward, but body language is often complex and easily misunderstood.
Thank you, Iowa. You know, they said this day would never come.
Obama has used his voice to match his body to get gravitas and yet a massive response.
The melody within his voice rouses people. They start to join in with the rhythm of the words as they flow, and they believe themselves to be part of it. It's a great trick of oratory.
They said our sights were set too high.
The cadence and the rhythm are hypnotic. So he actually speaks on a beat. And it's a model of a Baptist preacher.
They said this country was too divided.
What he's got is an incredible resonance for his voice when he says, they said, and it's almost as if there's reverb on the voice.
And he builds the voice up. So he starts down here, then he builds up here, and then he builds up here and has that long, long pause.
And then he lets the audience have it.
We are one nation. We are one people. And our time for change has come.
It's so powerful because what it does is it doesn't really matter what he's saying because his voice tells you what you should be feeling about what he's saying. The words become irrelevant. You might not even remember the word message after he's finished speaking, but boy, did you feel something really, really powerful.